My guest today is one of the most important voices in modern Orthodoxy in Israel, Rav Benny Lau. Rav Benny is the nephew of Rav Yisrael Meir Lau, former chief rabbi of Israel. Rav Benny founded the Ramban community in Yerushalayim, the first Orthodox community in Israel, to add a woman to its clergy team. He is the founder of Project 929, a project that makes all 929 chapters of the Tanakh accessible to the Jewish world through daily study. And as you will hear, Rav Benny is a person and a rabbi who believes in the holiness of Am Yisrael in our entirety. Rav Benny, welcome to Honey from the Rock. Rav Benny, welcome to the podcast. I'm so grateful to be in conversation with you. What a treat.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill, to having me here. It's exciting for me to have the ability to talk with you about thoughts of community, about ourselves, about the heritage that we are trying to share with people.
Wow.
So let's go.
Fabulous, fabulous. Okay, so let's dive into the heritage. I love that frame because I think our audience knows your name and they know of you, and maybe they listen to some of your lectures and your shiurim. But I'd love it if you would give us a little history about Rav Benny Lau and Rav Benny Lau's family. It's a rather important family in the Jewish world, and so please share with us.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for giving me the chance. I will do it very short. I'm 64 years old. I was born in Ramat Gan, near to Tel Aviv. My father, Holocaust survivor, he passed away 10 years ago. He actually my hero all my life, but with him, I can take the shadow of my grandfather, his father, who gave him, talking about heritage, gave him the last words in 42. My father's 42 was a child or youth in Poland, in the ghetto, Piotrek of the ghetto, and
Hmm.
it was the moment that the Germans took the Jews to Treblinka by trains. And my father, 16 years old, had the privilege to work in a factory, so he had the insurance to continue alive. And his father said to him, very clear message. Think about father and boy standing 4 o'clock in the morning in the entrance of the house in Poland. And the father said to his son, Tulek. My father's name was Naftali, and the nickname was Tulek, Polish. And he said to him, Tulek, this building, you think that it's your home. It's all mistake. It's all mistake. We should know that we have a different home, and our homeland is Eretz Yisrael. And you should try to survive. And if you survive, try to take with you your young brother, 5 years old. His name was Lulek, the nickname of Israel. And if you will survive, remember that you should go home. Home is Eretz Yisrael. And thanks God, thanks to my father, he did that. All his story is a hero story of survivor who took his young brother, and they built two nice branches in Eretz Yisrael, in Medinat Israel. My uncle became the chief rabbi of Medinat Israel, Rav Yisrael Meir Lau, well known around the world. I think he one of the very brilliant speakers of Jewish values, according to the last generation. And my father always stood in the back and gave the influence, the energy to people to continue on. So I grew up with that feeling, the face of my grandfather, the energy of my father, and I knew that I need to take responsibility. I think the first word is that. If you are doing something, do it 100% with all your power, and stand and say the very Jewish word, hineni. You know,
Wow.
hineni in Hebrew, it's very interesting. You can translate it to the English speakers by here I am. From very physical way translation. Here I am, but this is a wrong translation. Bill, how you will translate the word hineni?
So, wow. First of all, thank you for this phenomenal insight into your family and you. And I want to reflect on something you just said about your father is your hero. Even though he's not here today, I know he's with you because we keep our heroes with us. You know, the Honey Foundation is named for my father. My father was honey to his 10 grandchildren. And so, in a very real way, my father was my model, was my hero. And I don't have a Holocaust story to connect to. I have a poverty story that was very influential to me, and a story of my grandfather was uh, the first to come to America, and this my father's father from Lithuania, and they were poor, they were uneducated in school, and when my father came here, and my grandfather's sole mission was to make sure my father had a chance to be educated because he was not. And so it became, it's a pretty typical Jewish story, but I wanted to tell it to you because this idea that our fathers are heroes for most of us is very real for me. And this foundation that's doing this work on communities and empowering leadership, spiritual leadership, is named for my dad. So thank you for that. Now, your question: how do I translate Hineni? So one of the formative lectures that I was privileged to have in my Jewish learning was about the word Hineni. And so I had this, I think, when I was maybe 14 or 15 years old. And the teacher, who's I wish I remembered the teacher's name, but the rabbi taught us exactly, I think, what you're leading to. It's not the physical. Here I am physically in this place. It's like when the teacher announces the roll call of the students, and you say, "Yes, I'm sitting here. See me." That's not it. It's I'm ready. I'm here to act. I'm here to engage. I'm here to be part of this drama and of our lives, of our
Bill, how many words you use to translate one short Hebrew word?
yes.
4 letters. Hineni. It's unbelievable, נכון?
Wow.
That
Wow.
hineni, it's a short word. You say it just in once, hineni, and it's include all what you said.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So this heritage that you inherited um, obviously influenced your life and took you on path. You said your father stood back while your uncle had a very public and very influential public role. And agree. So much of what he did was. I wish he was the chief rabbi again because we need that kind of leadership. Um, but go further now. How you became you. Tell us a little more about your journey, if you would.
I will do it very short with I will say stations in the road. So I think that I can take the first station when I finished the yeshiva high school and went like the whole the whole boys, we continue on to what called Hesder Yeshiva. Hesder Yeshiva, it's, as you know, a combination between serving the army and staying in the yeshiva world. It's a way of keeping the boys in a very, very secure area, according the religious, according the atmosphere, mean going with and without the open world. So I started my time in the yeshiva Hesder in Gush Etzion, and then after a few months I went to the Rosh Yeshiva, Rav Yuda Amital, one of my models, and I asked him a question. Rabbi, you are talking all time about Am Yisrael, the Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, all shiurim, all time, all drashot. I'm looking around and I see hundreds of boys looking just like me. Where I supposed to see that figure called Am Yisrael? And he became very nervous on me. And that was the day that I left the yeshiva.
Wow.
And I went to the regular army. I went to a very special unit, a very special but very open, called Golani. And that was for me the first step in the real Israeli world. I mean, to see all kinds, to see the real people in Israel, all, you know, from east and west, from north and from all kinds. And I was actually the only religious boy in my unit. That was the best time to learn about the differences. The first time that I understood what is differences. Next station, I found my wife 40 years ago, thanks God, and she grew up in kibbutz. I'm Israeli, and for many people in out of Israel, they believe that if you are Israeli, somehow you connected to kibbutz. But I grew up in Israel, and I never spent time in kibbutz. So after finding my Aveda, my wife, we turned to live in her place in kibbutz in the near Gaza, kibbutz Saad, a religious kibbutz, and I found a real community. That for me was the first time in my life that I found a real strong and very tighty community, mean the member of the kibbutz. Talking about 250 families. And after a few years, I became the rabbi of the kibbutz. That was 30 years ago, 32 years ago, actually. In 93, I became the rabbi. To be a community rabbi, it's one thing. To be a community rabbi in kibbutz, it's 24/7, You know quite well, the whole system of rabbis in communities. So you have somehow your free time. You have in kibbutz in that days.
None.
It's like living in a rentgen room. You see everything inside. So that was for many years, for about 15 years. And then we jumped to Jerusalem. I mean, Aliyah La'aretz, we moved from Negev to Jerusalem. And I became the rabbi of a very old community that they asked me, they saw me, I came not as a rabbi, I came because it was enough living in the kibbutz as a rabbi. I should tell you that I knew the people too much. I knew each one of them with all the stories, with all the problematic situations, and I felt that I can be in a very tighty community as a rabbi and member. It was too much. So then we left and we become citizens in Jerusalem. I start praying in a regular synagogue, very small and old and quiet. And I should say the color was very, I should say, without color. Very, what is our color? No, nothing happened there. And they come to me and ask if I will, if I will, they have no rabbi, if I will will happy to be the rabbi. So I said, I can't. The VAD, the committee looked on me and said, why? I said, because look, how is the women, Ezrat Nashim, the women area,
Mhm.
look how it's look. In that days, in Jerusalem, in the old synagogues, the what we call the section, Ezrat Nashim, was like in, I should say, if you have your apartment, you have the boydem. You know the word boydem in the top of the room. It's like storm. It's not think that you cannot live there. It was a very small and dark place. The women, they didn't come actually, the women. So I said, my wife can't pray here. Even if she can pray here, I cannot be the rabbi here. So what we should do, they said we should rebuild the synagogue and make my idea was very simple because I came from kibbutz, a strong community, and the title was, I remember when I wrote it to them, it's about 25 years ago. I wrote them actually, it was like a document, and the title was Moving from Synagogue to Community. How you make the process to
Beautiful.
take a building and make it a community. And it was in the same time in two paths. One was physically to build a new building in the same place with a very open sides, with the open gallery, mean Orthodox style, still very Orthodox, mean it's very clear that it's separate between men and women, but the women should be very close, include everything, mean to feel that they are not guests, but they are part. And that was easy side. The other challenge was to build the community by the people, because it was very old style and people. And I start collected, going to young families in the area. I remember in that year about 40 meetings with a group of families. Each one, when I phoned and say, I want to come, if you can invite your friends. So I did 40 chugim like that. It was very busy here. And after that, they start building. The good thing when you build, you can't pray in the same place. So we took a gym, and it was temporary place. And in a temporary place, you can collect the people because everyone is a guest. No one is Baal Habayit.
Right.
And
No
in
one's the
that
owner.
year of build, the community started. And that was unbelievable because I took very seriously the idea that I don't want to miss even one person from the from the old synagogue. I want them, the old people, to feel that I didn't took the very intimate place.
Right, right,
So
right,
it was
right.
a process.
It always is, and just listening to your story, there's something that's jumping out at me that I don't want to let. I want to hear the next part of your story, but before we go there, I want to reflect on something you have emphasized. You talked about when you first went to the kibbutz, to kibbutz Sad, you found community for the first time. Then you move to Jerusalem and you're asked to be the Rav Kila, to be their rabbi. And you say, not so easily. I'm sure this was challenging for you to say, I can't do this without these changes because there's a difference for me from the word synagogue, place, and the word community. And so talk about what community is for you. How do you define community?
I think that people from abroad cannot understand the difference in Israel between synagogue and community. If you are living in any place, all places in around the world, it's the same feeling. Be a member in community. It's a place that you are pray. You have the social life. You have the needs. You have maybe also you have the education needs. Everything is in the community. Include all. Include all. Maybe it's because there are families are needs the people around. In Israel, somehow it's happened that so many synagogues mean just to come and make your obligation of praying. You know, someone will do it 3 times a day, and someone 3 times a year, and someone 3 times in his life. But you have, this is my synagogue. And you have no cash or nothing in your heart making it community. Mean, I have my social life, I have my family, I have my needs. If I need something for charity, for example, I need tzedakah. I need tzedakah. I will go to the government. I have so, in Israel, we can say that the Medina, the state, is like a great shtetl. I mean, you have so many other needs. If you go to the kindergarten or to the school or to the high school, all boys and girls around, Jews in different styles, and you have your immediate community. I mean, my community is my school, my community is my jam, my community is the youth movement. Everything is except the synagogue. Synagogue is not community. And it's, for me, after staying 15 years in kibbutz, I understand that it's a big, big mistake, because between the state and the individual, there are lake. And I think openly to say to you, Bill, what you are doing around the country, I know that you do it not just in Israel, but in a specific, I'm a very local person. I see what's happened in Israel, what Honey Fund do in Israel, according to the communities. It's a huge difference. It's so important. You mamash complete the lake between the individual and the state. You understand that and you work on that. And so that was the motivation that make me come to the community, say we need community. Community need to see the needs. First of all, to be open eyes to each one of the people and say, maybe he needs something. No, many times it's not about the money. It's about the open eyes, open heart. Maybe he needs something, everything. The cycle of life of so many different needs. To be communities, to be there for the people. And thanks God, I should say, it was about at least a bit less than 20 years in Ramban to build the community, to lead them. I will share with you one short story. I have so many stories, but I know that the time is limited. So, a short story. When I started, it was very, very clear to me that one of the main subject in my community should be the place of women in the community, in the synagogue. Because the very tradition Orthodox way was that the women came as a guests. They watch, if they came, many of them didn't come to Bet Knesset anymore, but they didn't take a part. When women start taking part, say, okay, it's not Orthodox anymore. And I tried to build that. And the first Chag Shavuot, when we come close to the holiday of Shavuot, as you know, it's a very, very intensive evening of learning Torah in the night. So I put announcement in the neighborhood about the program of Bet Knesset Ramban, the Leil Shavuot, talking about 25 years ago. And announce what shiurim, the list of shiurim, include two women who gave shiurim, my wife and another woman. Night before Shavuot, mamash, but one night before the holiday, I came back home. I think it was almost mamash midnight. I came back and I saw like ambush, three ultra-Orthodox Hasidim stood in my entrance waiting. I came and I watched them and said, Shalom. I
מה
say,
נשמע?
yeah, כן, so, Shulim Aleichem. And I invited them in, three Hasidim. We have in our neighborhood in Katamon a very, very special Hasidut yard. It's called Erloi. Erloi is generation after generation following the Khatam Sofer. Just to all our audience, Khatam Sofer, it's the one who built the concept of Orthodox. Mean the aggressive way we not allow a new ideas coming to the Orthodox world. This is Khatam Sofer world. And that Hasidut following him, Mishpachat Sofer. So that Erlo Chassidim waited to me and said, one of them said he's the son of the Rebbe, and said, my father is very upset about what you are doing. He didn't need to explain anything, I understood. Abba is very upset. So I answered, it's a private area. Bet Knesset Ramban, it's not... So he said, it's a very chashuv, very important synagogue in the area, and it's make Abba very upset. So I didn't know what should I supposed to say. So he said, did you speak with someone? It's going, and it's become very, very aggressive discussion, said, we want to do a pashkevil against you. Okay, like
Wait,
putting you
what
in...
is a pashkevim?
Pashkevil, it's a road announcement that put you in like in a cherem, threw you from the camp. In the morning, never mind, I do it very short. I went in the morning to the father, to the Rebbe. He was in that time about 90 years old. A beautiful person. The Admor, the Rebbe.
Yes.
I knocked on the door. The son opened the door to me. He saw me and was very nervous. I said, I came to get bracha, a blessing to the holiday. It was the morning of the holiday, Chag Shavuot. So I said, I'm coming to get bracha. It was very, very nervous, and he went inside. After 2 minutes, returned back and said, okay, please come in. I went into the Rebbe, sit, in front of him, and I said to him, Rebbe, I just want to take you to a tour in our neighborhood. His son was so nervous. No, Mata say, what are you doing? I said, no, it will be here 2 minutes. I just want to tell him what differences synagogues we have in our area, what happened in our area, what people hear, what they can, and to understand what is my obligation to guide my community, and why I need his bracha to do my shlichut in the world to be it correctly.
Beautiful.
After 2 minutes, explain all the map. This old person, the Rebbe, closed his eyes. It was beautiful eyes, actually, beautiful eyes. Closed his eyes, and now after a few seconds, opened and said like that, Rav Lau, now you will help me with the English because it was in Hebrew. Rav Lau, I want to bless you that you will do, now in Hebrew, בסדר? hara bemiuto, that you will do hara, mean the
difficult
or the bad thing that you are doing. You will minimize hara bemiuto, that Hashem will help you to do what you are doing, that it's very bad. You will do it bemiuto. So he blessed me that I will continue do my terrible things, but bemiuto. And I want to tell you, since then, the relationship between Erloy and Ramban was like באמת honey and moon. It was great. He understood. He understood what is my duty and why I cannot follow his system.
Wow. An influential, it's a fantastic story. It's a reminder. So this rabbi, this 90-year-old rabbi with the beautiful eyes, because he probably developed beautiful eyes because he cared so deeply for the Jewish people.
Exactly.
And yet he never knew, like you found out when you went to the army and became a Golani member, that Am Yisrael, the people of Israel, come in every shape, size, belief, background, understanding, learning. We all come from somewhere, and it's not
Exactly.
the same. And so, if we're all imposed upon with the exact same obligation, we can't succeed as a people or as individuals. And
Exactly.
he came to understand that by knowing you. That's a rare human being. He-
When I came to his shiva, when his all kids sitting shiva, years ago, so I come, they all stopped, all the chassidim. Said, please, Rav Lau, share with us the story about, they want to repeat the story.
okay, I believe it. I believe it. It's a beautiful, beautiful story. I was going to tell you a story that I had for myself during the period that I was a chiyuv for my father. And in my work life, I was traveling a lot. And now at 66, I still work, but I don't do all that much traveling for that. I let the younger people do that. And I found myself in Northern California in a place where there are not very many Jews, but Chabad was there. And while Chabad is not my typical place to pray, I had taken on the obligation of saying Kaddish 3 times a day, and so I went to the minyan at Chabad, and the rabbi. It was a Monday, so we were reading Torah,
Mm.
and the rabbi at the end gave a short shiur, and his shiur, in it he said, "We Jews have one job on this planet. We're put on the earth for one purpose. It's to bring more Jews into Judaism. It's possible. We need to open doors. We need not to stop them from coming in. We need to welcome them in from wherever they are." It was an amazing thing to hear from a Chabadnik. For me, and it really influenced the Honey Foundation, because ultimately that's the formative story of the Honey Foundation.
It's so important to keep doors open, each one of them to different clients. It's so important. I will just jump to the next station just shortly. After almost 20 years in Ramban, I understood that Am Yisrael still not in my synagogue and even not in my community.
Mm.
And that took me to a long journey to start moving around the country with a Bible in my hand to understand that the Israelis, not the religious, but the non-religious, left the book. And when they left the book, they left also the story. And when they left the story, something happened to the roots and to the identity, to the self-Jewish identity. So actually, I'm not Chabadnik, but it's the same story. Going around the country with the Bible in my hands, and the project that I created was, the name is 929. Why that name? Because in the Bible we have 929 chapters. And I try to find a name, an Israeli name, that may mean nothing for connected to the Holy Book. When you say in Hebrew number, like 929, it's similar like a very special unit in the army, like 669, like 800, 200, it's always secret and hero. So I took 929, and in the beginning, people, what's happened around, what is about? And I can tell you that now we are almost finished the third cycle of reading daily a chapter in the Tanakh, and we are now in massive numbers of people, not dati, that walking with us in the path of the Tanakh. And I cannot say that we did the mission. We are on the way. But finish the third cycle for me, it's almost
Fantastic.
11 years of working. Thanks God to continue on.
Fantastic. Fantastic. It's uh I know that many of the people listening to us right now participate in 929, know about 929, and are deeply privileged to that you have started
Thank
this
you.
and are engaging in this critical role. I want to go back to our discussion though about community and the importance of community, and I want to take us to um, the moment of change, I'll call it, October 7th, as we sit here today, 1.5 years following, I'll offer that I'm not sure we have perspective yet on what this means for the Jewish people, because there's so many changes that are happening. Perhaps nothing is the same before October 7th and after October 7th. So I'm very interested to hear you talk about the role of community after October 7th and how the role of the community rabbi has been impacted.
It's very interesting question, because let's remember that the many communities in what we call the West Negev, I mean, round Gaza, many of them are not dati kibbutzim. Many of them Shomer HaTzair people, very ideology against dati life, and they have no rabbis. They have
Dati meaning religious.
religious. They are not religious, but they
Right,
are very serious religious about their own beliefs,
right.
mean sometimes anti-religious. There are Shomer HaTzair people, there are other youth movement grew up in, and they are some of them, should say, some of them, very strong communities. Other, not strong. And if you go further, you can see the differences between the trauma of October 7, between what happened in the party in the Nova area and the kibbutzim, mean the communities. If you have community, then it's trauma for all, but it's trauma that you are moved together. I spent, days and nights for long time in the hotels in the desert sea, in other places, because they all communities moved together to think about kibbutz, live in one hotel. Strange, but it took about few days that they start build the needs of the kids, the youth, the old people, mean the whole committees building immediately. Because if you have a strong community, you can move with her, with the community. When you have no community, and we had many citizens without communities, you found them lost in the hotels, lost in the streets. One very, very strong picture that I remember from the second month of the war, meaning November. I found myself in the desert sea, going around the hotels, giving, shiurim and lectures and talking. And always I invited by the communities, kibbutz Be'eri, kibbutz Nachal, kibbutz. And between I walking, it was evening, and I walked between the hotels, and suddenly I saw between the hotels on a branch, I saw two people sitting, very gray faces, quiet. And I stopped and I asked them, who are they? So they told me they came here to the hotel from Sderot, mean from the town. Do you have community? So they looked at me. No, we have one kid here, one there, have no community. No one care. So we start building special programs, and Bill, it's like a באמת a miracle that volunteers came all over to build communities to that people. The koach, the power that community they have to just to keep your hand, to let you get up, to continue from day to day. It was the difference. If you have or haven't community, it's like what we say in the bracha blessing, hamavdil ben kodesh lechol, ben or lechoshech. It's like if you have the light or you are still in the dark.
Right,
Just like that.
right. I wow, I can see the image. It's a very clear image that you paint of the people without community who are alone. And being alone with trauma
Terrible.
is perhaps the worst human condition. And it feels endless for people who are alone with trauma. And so helping them create community is perhaps our greatest mission as people and as Jews. And so Yasher Koach for
Thank
taking
you.
on the responsibility to be there and to help them come together in community. I I I've taken to asking all of my guests on this podcast a question about the need for Jewish community in Israel. One of the learnings that I had while I was privileged to live in Israel, and we were trying to figure out how can we make Aliyah, and it's such a complicated. We weren't being forced. I think if we were being forced, it might have been something different. But because of the complexity and where our parents were and where our other children were and the nature of life, we weren't able to do it. But I saw vividly that I'll use a word that I'm not sure is a word, that Israelism had become a replacement for Judaism for so many Israelis. That they would tell me, because secular Israelis saw me as one of them, and religious Israelis saw me as one of them. And so I was in these conversations frequently and trying to understand how this could be that just being Israeli was enough and that they didn't need real Jewish community. And so I'd love you to talk about that. You live in the Jewish state, as you said, in Medinat Yisrael. You are an Israeli. You speak Hebrew as your mother tongue. You live by the calendar of Judaism, whether you're religious or not. So, do you really need a Jewish community?
First of all, it's a great question. It's not just a question, it's about all the system of community. And I want to answer it by using Again, something very deep from the Jewish language. And again, I'm not sure that I have the English translate correct, but you will help me.
We'll both try.
When you are talking about going to doing the right thing, in Hebrew, in the Jewish Hebrew, you say Shuat Hadin. Shuat Hadin, it's
Yes,
going
going towards the right judgment.
exactly towards the nachon, the right thing, Shua, but the word Shua in Hebrew comes from Aramaic, and it's meant to say it's like a wall. It's very strong, it's very straight. You are standing and you know exactly the right thing, Shurat Adin, the right things to do according the law. When you are talking about state, of course in America, but even in Israel, that we have, thanks God, millions citizens, you cannot build a state without that strong line of Shurat Adin. Mean if you go to the social worker, she had the very limited option of you had the points to get in or you have no go out. How far she can play with the open because your nice eyes. She shouldn't do that. She should be very correct by her job mission. And I say social worker can be says about each one in every other policy in the public area, in schools, in economy, in building, everything. And when you are living in Shuat Hadin, something very clear that you are standing in the wall, standing in the line, watching the front, and you see just the front. Something that you will never see is the people around you, because they are not around. They are standing in the line. The other word in Hebrew that you have against that Shuat Hadin, it's called Lifnim Mishwat Hadin. The word Lifnim Mishwat, that you take the law and you break it. You break it. Mean, I know that I need to do X, but because the situation, I go and loop it and do differently. And it's breaking the wall. And what's happened when you broke the wall? First of all, you have no wall anywhere, but you have faces. You make the line a circle. Lifnim, it's like the face, it's like panim. And I think the kunz of community, that shouldn't be a line. It should be a
Right.
circle that always talking about faces. Always, it's a Jewish who actively looking after the face of the other. Now, the immediate faces is the members in the community. But when you feel strong enough with the faces of the community, then you continue on and ask, what about the faces in the other places? And you open the circle, become larger and larger and larger. And that's what makes different between a very strong state to a very warm community. And I think this is something that we can do in Israel. And thanks God, you can see that it's happened.
Yes, it is clearly happening. I want to say also your story reminds me of why some rabbis can be Rav Kihila, meaning they can truly see each face in their community. They're not just looking Shurat Hadin. They're not just looking down the line. They're able to see each of us, each of Am Yisrael, as a unique person, uh, B'Tselem Elokim,
I,
created in the
re-
image of God.
I remember myself first time that very, years ago when I came to JFK, the first time in America, and I didn't understand anything. And I walk, and then someone, a policeman, stopped me, shout and say, "Stop! Keep your line." As I know, I will break the line.
Fantastic, fantastic. So I want to close our conversation, and I'd love to give you a chance to reflect. Um, both, I think this is fair to say. We're taping this on May 22nd. We're about to celebrate Shavuot in a little more than a week, and so we'll be thinking about all of this, the blessings that we have to have Torah in our life, to have this rich, rich heritage, giving us paths, giving us a way of seeing the world. And it's so optimistic is sort of my view of Shavuot and of this cycle that we're in. And yet, when I wake up every morning and I read the newspapers or I look at the news on my device, I can't help but be pessimistic about where we are as a world and definitely where we are as a Jewish nation and a Jewish people. And so I'd love you to talk about how we can be optimistic in this time of great pain.
Are you familiar with the word in Hebrew and that we say in the prayer book called Emek Habacha? We sing in Lecha Dodi. Remember,
The truth.
מקדש מלך, עיר מלוכה, קום יצאי מתוך ההפכה, רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה. עמק הבכה, it's the valley of tears.
Mm-hmm.
Valley of tears. And the poetry said, stop that, continue on, קום יצאי, go out from that valley. עמק הבכה, valley of tears. Terrible place. The original place that word's written is in Psalms, in
Right.
chapter 84. And the whole pasuk, the whole sentence said like that. Ovrei be'emek habacha. When you pass a place that is like a valley of tears, ma'ayan yeshituhu. You should remember that when you are in that station of your life, in a chapter of terrible tears, valley of tears, should remember that deep, deep under your legs is a ma'ayan. It's a spring
Spring.
that you can go deeper and deeper and take the water deep from the land and give your own energy to continue on. You shouldn't stay in that valley. The word is ovrei. You should pass over that station, continue to the next direction. It's the tikva, the hope. And I know clearly, and I don't want to put it in a different color, that we are in a very, very difficult part in our journey, the Jewish people journey. All over the world, I know we just heard in Israel the news about Washington, but we
Terrible.
understand that it's all here, and that part, that, I should say, chapter of the history, it's Emek HaBacha. It's, I should say, it's nothing to equal to the Holocaust. Still very different. But for us, in a year and a half, it's like living in a cloud, living in, you know nothing what's the next day, next step. Very hard. But when you have under your legs, you have under the land, that spring, that water, the very life water that is your father and my father, and all the heritage that you took, that we talked about, all the memories we are taking with us, and we will take it, it will fill us with the hope. And by that, by our parents and by the memories and by the Torah, we will stand and follow to the next station. And I want to share it with the whole audience here. we need each other, specific in that valley, specific when you feel not secure in the situation. The only thing that you need is another hand that give you the energy, and together continue slowly, step by step, to the next chapter, hopefully much better than now.
Wow. Wow. Rav Benny, this has really been a true privilege. And I feel like your words and your messages are the Ma'ayan that will help us get to that next phase.
Thank you so much, Bill, to host me here. And I want to thank you for all what you are doing to Am Israel and to Medinat Israel. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, and same to you. What a privilege to be in conversation with Rav Benny is to be reminded that there are real tzaddikim walking on the earth. He grew up learning of his grandfather's final message to his young father, to Benny's young father in 1942 Poland. He reminded his son, this place, Poland, this is not your home. Eretz Yisrael is our home. And he grew up embracing this heritage, embracing the memory of his hero, his father, and sharing himself and his learning with the Jewish world. I was struck by so many elements of our conversation, but his story of leaving the Hesder Yeshiva to go and discover who Am Yisrael is probably the most influential for me. He joined the Golani Brigade of the IDF, where, as he put it, he was the only religious boy in his unit. It struck me that this was the moment he discovered his own mission in life, and since then, he's lived it every day. They say that writers are best when they write what they know, and painters are best when they paint what they see, and singers are best when the music becomes part of them. For Rav Benny, he shines so brightly because he knows he's part of Am Yisrael, and he sees and honors each of us that he comes in contact with as holy members of Am Yisrael. What a lesson for each of us to embrace. Until next time, this is your host, Bill Lipsy, and this has been Honey from the Rock.